High Leaf may be a new band, and this may be their debut album, but there is something about their cover and their logo that puts you completely at ease and breaks any ice that might exist in front of two parties that don't know each other. Stoner, that which connects people, well, not all people, but at least the ones that matter. The groove, in the riffs, and that very special aura that is associated with 70s rock finds new forms of expression here. It's not revisiting the past that warrants our admiration and respect, but it is the way of taking something, rock, that is already beginning to be ancestral and injecting it with new life to which we prostrate ourselves in veneration. Vision Quest is a must for all stoner fans, and this is a must-follow band.
Iceland may be more discreet these days compared to the past decade, when every month new bands with passionate sounds appeared. Ring of Gyges are not so new, although this is their second album of originals, an album that captivates with a sound that makes you think of both Riverside and Leprous from the middle of their career. A balance between melody, some weight, and an ability to thrill in a sublime way. 6 years have passed since their debut, but this work feels like it can bridge the silence and absence in a spectacular way. Close to the more modern approach to progressive metal that may irritate some purists, but whatever the form or formula, it is undeniable that these songs are stunning.
Born in 2016, I have to agree with the statement in the press release that dictates that Heimland are a band out of their time. The Norwegian band specifically points to that era of the mid-90s where Scandinavian black metal was just beginning to be discovered by the worldwide underground. And if this description of their sound might make those who think that situating themselves in that time period has nothing else to offer, they will be truly surprised by what these less than 40 minutes present. Raw black metal, but still with melodies that refer to pagan heritage that appear very subtly but still make their presence felt. If at first you might not be impressed by their power, it definitely won't take long to be fascinated by this debut.
I've said this a few times before, the longer the absence from releasing music, the more unpredictable will be the reaction to new work. In this absence, the band may have gone unnoticed, or they may, inversely proportionally, have become a cult name, which will always then be reflected in the expectations created. 14 years without releasing an album, but never quite shutting down activities, here is the fourth album of originals the Norwegians Lumps bring with them. According to available information, the band started work on this successor shortly after, having started recording in 2009, but the process only came to an end now. I must say that this fact did not make for complex work or noticeable fragmentation in time. The band's very own folk and prog sensibility, with the former being only a slight suggestion, while it is the latter that occupies more space in their musical personality, finding many good vehicles throughout this work that is far from being flashy and immediate. But this is what makes it an even more effective set, especially in the emotional component, to which the voice of Mari Klingen, in the band since 2021, contributes a lot. It is impossible not to be moved by themes like Dagen Erend, just one example of the fantastic work that is here.
Mystic Prophecy has always been a proposal within the more traditional metal that has made a positive impact, so the expectations for this Hell Riot were considerable. A mix between heavy, power and thrash metal that has invariably brought us great albums. And I can already say that these expectations are very well handled by this 11th original album, which is a mark worthy of respect. Choruses that stick in your head without a chance, a voice that gives a warmer tone to the songs than the competition, and an art in making great songs, where melody and weight go hand in hand. It is this musical diversity that has always been its strong point, and the fact that it is once again associated with great songs makes this a great comeback.
Booby Trap are back and in a big way, now presenting themselves with a second guitar already since 2020, but only now the new lineup is appearing on an original album, and it's one of their best works, if not the best. where not only the band appears heavier and sharper than ever, the wall of guitars helps a lot, and with a set of songs that are well inspired. Songs, by the way, that were born to be played live, like the title song or the introduction march of the Boobies, a clear homage to SOD, eternal reference to their crossover sound. Special appearances by Howard H. Smith of Acid Rain on Open Up Your Eyes and Miguel Newton of Moderatish on Nada Era Madar also stand out. Is this the crossover record of 2023?
Herod are back, with a monstrous third album. For those who know the band already know the way they mix post-metal like no one else, with their own groove of more gent stuff and a totally oppressive atmosphere. Citing influences ranging from Cult of Luna to the Dillinger Escape Plan and passing through Meshuggah, nothing else would be expected. Oppressive weight and an ability to create images even if unpleasant with their music, undoubtedly a feat that is not within everyone's reach. An album that confronts us with an uglier side of existence. It may be real or just a figment of the imagination, but without being particularly strong because of it, and that despite exhausting us, leaves us no alternative but to dive into it once again.
No matter how skeptical one is about comebacks, and there is a history to justify this skepticism, it is impossible not to be excited about the return of Phlebotomized. The Dutch band has never shown conformism in its approach to death metal, something that the mythical Immense Intense Suspense revealed back in 1994. The band returned in 2013 and manifested that return on record only in 2018, in a record that will have passed most fans of progressive death metal by. 5 years later they are back here with this Clouds of Confusion, which guarantees that it is criminal to pass them by this time. Adorably old school, but always with one foot in modern times, the Dutchmen here demonstrate how sometimes you don't need to ride the crest of the wave when what you are is already unique. That is, instead of trying to keep up with the trends to fit better with what the more experimental, melodic and progressive genre of extreme music is presenting, they simply take their best characteristics and make one of their best works. It sounds simple, melodic, unusual and heavy. This is one of the great progressive death metal albums of 2023.
The second album from the Canadians Pronostic is a juggernaut of melodic and technical death metal, two subgenres of heavy music that don't always combine in the best way. A long editorial silence since 2015 was broken in the best way with an album that becomes easily addictive. This because writing songs that have high technical and melodic is not for everyone, especially when the subject is death metal. Nowadays, the great difficulty any band has is to make their music last more than the 5 seconds that make up the attention deficit of the common human being. Something that Pronostic achieves in a unique way. Mandatory.
A band when it starts to get too much exposure after a long time in the underground, the odds are enormous for it to encounter more and more opposition with each new work. Cattle Decapitation is no exception. The melodic edge they have been introducing more and more into their sound has meant that many former fans have missed out on works like Death Atlas. And what they present in Terracite is not far from the path they have been walking. More melodic than ever, conceptually on the same extreme ecological track, where the title is an obvious call to that very thing, and ending the album with a long epic, Just Another Body, where they also reveal that the designation of progressive death metal in metal archives is not out of place elsewhere. And this might be discouraging for those who don't like this evolution of them, but is this evolution really that bad? The band is pretty broad in the tools they use to create songs, and that's not necessarily a bad thing from the moment they continue to be heavier than ever. For us they are better than ever, and Terracite even manages to sound better than Death Atlas.